Have you ever wondered what makes some people so strangely attractive? They're not necessarily the most beautiful, the smartest, or the richest. They're simply captivating. This world is a grand stage where everyone is vying for attention, but only a select few understand the secret of subtly owning the space. I used to think that charm meant always being polite, always smiling, and never offending anyone. But then I realized that people don't remember the forgettable, those who just blend into the crowd. People remember those who make them feel special. I've witnessed my friends being taken advantage of, overlooked, just because they tried too hard to be liked. Meanwhile, those who have mastered the calculated art of charm, including myself, move through life much more easily, much more gracefully. And here's a controversial truth. If you want people to feel special around you, you don't need to always be sincere. You just need to make them believe that you are. And frankly, that's how you win. Part 1. The power of subtlety, the secrets of charm. Using names, not manipulation, but recognition. There's a hidden power in each person's name. It's like a switch in the brain, instantly grabbing attention. Imagine you're in a crowded room, your mind preoccupied with something else. But as soon as someone calls your name, everything around you seems to fade away for a moment. That's the power of recognition. It touches upon the most basic human desire, the desire to be seen and acknowledged. However, most people are misusing this power. They think that repeating someone's name in every sentence makes the conversation more personal. But that's not the case. It can make others feel like you're trying too hard, even manipulating them. I've had conversations where I felt like I was being courted, as if the person was reading from a script on how to get people to like them. It's exhausting, and frankly, it makes me lose trust in them. No one wants to feel like they're a part of someone else's formula. I used to be one of those people, someone who thought that using names in every sentence was a magical social trick. When I first started my career, I was eager to build relationships, and I was trying to get everyone on my side. So, I constantly used their names in conversations. "Hey Mark, that's a great idea, Mark. What do you think about this, Mark?" It was over the top, and it was fake, because it truly was fake. I thought I was being slick, but in reality, I was just distancing myself from meaningful relationships. One day, a colleague was blunt with me about it. Initially, I was embarrassed, but it was a wake-up call. I realized that I wasn't really interacting with people. I was just trying to manipulate them into liking me. The profound message here is, people don't want to feel like they're a pawn in your social game. Yes, using their names can make them feel recognized, but it's not just about the name. It's when and how you use it. Subtlety is the real art. Use their name when you're making a serious point, when you want to emphasize something personal or meaningful. It will send a signal that, in this moment, they are the center of your attention. Not because you need to make them feel special, but because you choose to. This isn't deception. It's understanding human nature. People crave recognition, but they also crave authenticity. Using their name too much, too predictably, immediately signals that you're not being genuine. Do you want to build real relationships? Use their name sparingly but powerfully. That's how you balance respect with charm. And here's the controversial part. Manipulating someone's emotions doesn't always feel wrong. Is it so bad if you use these tactics to make them feel good about themselves? We all have insecurities, moments where we feel invisible. Sometimes a little bit of attention, like hearing your name at the right time, is all it takes to uplift someone's day. So yes, I'm suggesting you use this to your advantage, but not at the cost of your integrity. Make people feel seen, but don't do it for your own sake. Do it because deep down, everyone wants to matter. In the end, it's a delicate balance. The name is just a tool, but how you use it determines if you are manipulating or being genuine. And everyone can sense the difference. Use their name often enough to remind them they matter, but subtle enough so it never feels like you're following a formula. Charm is making other people feel important, but the secret is getting them to believe that they really matter to you, not just in that moment, but in the bigger picture. Number 2, listen to understand. Not to respond listening is one of the most underrated skills in the art of charm, yet it's the foundation for making people feel truly special. The problem is, most of us don't really listen. We're just waiting for our turn to talk. We're so busy crafting our next brilliant response that we miss the opportunity to truly hear what the other person is saying. And that's the fastest way to make someone feel invisible. Here's a controversial truth. If you're not listening to understand, you're wasting your time. I've been guilty of this, sitting in conversations, nodding my head, pretending to be engaged, but internally preparing for my next point. And you know what? People can sense it. They know when you're just waiting for your turn to speak. It doesn't make them feel valued. It makes them feel used. That's not charm. That's selfishness. But when you listen to truly understand, you're not only showing respect for the person, but you're also building a deeper connection than superficial conversations. You're giving them the space to be heard without having to engage in a back-and-forth debate. I remember one time I was talking to a colleague who was clearly struggling. My natural instinct was to jump in and give advice to solve their problem, but instead I paused and just listened. No interruptions, no advice, just pure attention. And you know what happened? They opened up more because they felt safe. By the end of the conversation, they said to me, "I've never felt so listened to." It was the moment I realized that sometimes the best thing you can do is simply listen. Here's the profound message. In a world full of noise, listening genuinely is a rare gift. People don't want constant advice or opinions. They want understanding. They want to feel like someone gets them. And when you can give that gift, you immediately stand out, someone who matters to others. That's real charm. So stop listening just to respond. Listen to understand. That's how you make people feel truly seen and valued. And that's where the real magic of connection happens. 3, end the conversation. First, but on a high note. Ending a conversation is an art, and it's often misunderstood. Here's a little secret. The most charming people don't just engage in conversations, they also master the timing of their exits. I've learned this through a lot of trial and error, and often those were hard lessons. I used to stay in conversations way too long after they had reached their peak, thinking that lingering was a sign of dedication or interest. But the truth is, staying too long can dilute the impact of your presence. I remember once attending a networking event, trying to build relationships. I had a fascinating conversation with a prominent figure in the industry. Things were going really well. I was engaged, making witty remarks, and feeling like I was doing great. But I didn't know when to leave. I stayed until the conversation petered out, and in the end it felt more like a prolonged performance than an enjoyable exchange. The result? I left a lasting impression, but not the kind I wanted. The person I was talking to was still polite, but I could tell that I had overstayed my welcome. The real lesson here is understanding the power of a timely exit. Ending the conversation first, but on a high note, leaves people feeling satisfied and wanting more. It's like walking out of a great movie just before the end credits begin, leaving the audience wanting a sequel. This tactic is not rude or dismissive. It's about maximizing the impact of your presence. Here's a controversial perspective. Most people don't know how to leave a conversation gracefully because they're too focused on not appearing rude. But being overly concerned with politeness can sometimes be more damaging than a quick but effective exit. When you end a conversation while it's still lively, you not only avoid overstaying your welcome, but you also ensure that your departure feels like a natural conclusion, not an awkward one. For example, I've had colleagues who would linger after meetings or social events, trying to keep the conversation going after the energy had already fizzled out. It was as if they were afraid to leave, afraid that they would be missing out on something. What they didn't realize is that lingering can actually diminish their own appeal. Charm lies in the ability to sense when a conversation has reached its peak, and then to exit when people still feel good about the interaction. Ending a conversation first can feel a bit like playing a game, and yes, it can be a bit manipulative. It's not deceptive. It's about controlling the dynamic to ensure that your exit is memorable. The high note that you leave on is a conscious choice. It's the final impression, the one that lingers in people's minds long after you've gone. It's the difference between leaving a party while it's still lively and being the last person there, struggling with small talk when everyone has left. So, embrace the art of the timely exit. Leave when the conversation is still fresh, interesting, and fun. It's a calculated move, one that speaks volumes about your social skills and your self-awareness. People remember the emotion you created, not just the content of the conversation. And if you can leave on a positive, lingering note, you'll find that your charm is not just a fleeting effect, but something that keeps people thinking about you after you've left. Remembering small details. Remembering small details is like having a key to someone's emotional vault. It's one of the simplest yet most effective ways to make people feel truly valued. But here's where most people get it wrong. They focus on the big things, thinking that remembering someone's birthday or job title is enough. No, real charm lies in the little things, the tiny fragments of conversations that most people overlook. I used to make this mistake. I'd remember the important things like names or major milestones, but I'd forget the seemingly insignificant details, like someone mentioning they were struggling to find a new hobby or their preferred type of tea. And you know what? My conversations became superficial. My connections felt empty. I was friendly, but I wasn't memorable. One day, a close friend casually mentioned that they were trying to learn guitar, something they hadn't mentioned to anyone else. A couple weeks later, I asked them, "How's your guitar practice going?" Their reaction was priceless. They were genuinely surprised that I remembered something that they had considered unimportant. It was when I realized that what you remember says a lot about what you value in others. And when you value the small details, others will feel truly seen. It shows that you're not just listening, you're invested in them. But here's a controversial truth. Remembering small details is a subtle form of control. When you recall those little details, you're telling someone that you're paying attention in a way that others aren't. It's as if you're giving them a glimpse of your focus, making them feel important without saying it directly. It's a powerful, silent way to build trust and rapport. And it's manipulative, make no mistake. It can be used to entice people, making them feel special, even if your intention is simply to gain something from them later. The key is, it works. Honestly, everyone craves this kind of attention. In a world where everyone is too busy looking at their phones or thinking about themselves, remembering small details about someone else's life is a rare and treasured gift. It's something that people don't even realize they need until they experience it. The truth is, when someone feels like you've noticed the little things, they start to open up to you in ways that they can't with others. You become someone who understands them, someone they can trust with things that others overlook. For example, I used to work with a colleague who casually mentioned their favorite type of chocolate in a conversation. I made a mental note of it and didn't think much of it at the time. A few months later, I had the chance to bring it up when I was getting gifts for the team. I got the right chocolate for her, and she was incredibly moved. Not because it was expensive or extravagant, but because I had remembered such a small gesture. That one gesture changed the dynamic between us. She became more open, and our working relationship became much smoother and more productive. It wasn't about the chocolate. It was about the recognition that she was important enough for me to remember such a minor thing. Here's the profound message. The small details you remember have a massive ripple effect. People are constantly bombarded with superficial connections. Everyone is rushing, skimming over conversations, treating interactions like a to-do list. When you pause and recall a specific detail, something that seems unimportant, it shows others that you value the moments that most people overlook. It's not only charming, it's transformative. You go from a casual acquaintance to a trusted confidant, someone who cares. And the best thing is, it doesn't take much effort. Just pay attention and take mental notes when someone mentions something small, because to them, it's never small at all. And let's be honest, this approach also gives you an advantage in social and professional situations. Becoming someone who remembers the small details makes you stand out. The world is a competition, and people tend to gravitate towards those who make them feel valued in ways that others don't. So yes, remembering small details can make you more likable and influential, but don't mistake it for mere kindness. It's a strategic move, one that can deliver results in both personal and professional realms. In the end, it's not about pretending to be perfect. It's about being present. The small details may seem unimportant, but they have the power to build lasting relationships. And people will always remember the emotions you created long after they've forgotten the exact words you spoke. Number 5, be vulnerable, but calculatedly vulnerability is a double-edged sword. When wielded correctly, it becomes incredibly powerful. Being open can create deep connections and make you seem relatable, approachable, and even charming. But here's the catch. Real charm doesn't come from indiscriminately spilling your guts. It comes from sharing just enough vulnerability to be relatable without losing control of the situation. It's a calculated balance. And yes, it can be highly manipulative. Honestly, everyone loves vulnerability. It's what breaks down walls and humanizes you. But if you think being open means unloading all your problems every time someone asks, "How are you?" you're doing it wrong. I used to be like that. I used to think that the more I shared about my struggles, the more people would trust me and feel connected to me. I'd tell stories about my personal challenges, mistakes, and failures, thinking it would deepen my relationships. And for a while, it worked, until it didn't. What I didn't realize at the time is that unchecked vulnerability can backfire. When you share too much, too soon, it can make you look weak, desperate for attention, or even manipulative in a negative way. Others will start to wonder why you're so eager to expose your flaws. Are you seeking pity? Are you trying to get validation? Or worse, are you oversharing because you have no sense of boundaries? It was when I realized that vulnerability isn't about total transparency. It's about strategic transparency. Here's a personal example. I was once in a meeting where tensions were high, and I could see my colleagues were looking for reasons to disengage. Instead of trying to bulldoze through the conversation with a veneer of false bravery, I shared a story about a time I had made a costly mistake at work. But I didn't just lay it all out. I told it in a way that showed I had learned from it and turned it into a strength. By sharing just enough vulnerability, I humanized myself without losing my authority. The atmosphere shifted instantly. People started to open up, sharing their own fears and mistakes. Suddenly, I was no longer just another figure in the room. I was someone they could relate to, someone they could trust. The controversial truth is, calculated vulnerability is a tactic. You're not just sharing to connect, you're sharing to control the narrative. By revealing something personal, you're creating a sense of trust and intimacy. But here's the key. You're only revealing what you want them to see. It's like showing your cards in poker. You never put everything on the table. just enough to keep them intrigued. This doesn't mean you're being fake. It means you're being selective. You're choosing which aspects of your vulnerability to leverage to your benefit without giving others access to parts of you they have no right to know. This kind of calculated vulnerability can also be used in personal relationships. Think about those times when someone shares something deeply personal with you out of the blue. It can be jarring, even uncomfortable. Now compare that to when someone shares a bit about their struggles after you've built a relationship. The difference lies in timing and intention. One feels forced, the other feels natural. It's not about hiding who you are, it's about how you frame who you are. Here's the profound message. Vulnerability is a powerful tool, but it's only effective when you have control over it. You don't need to be open to everyone about your deepest fears and insecurities to create connections. In fact, doing it too often can devalue the very thing you're trying to build. Real charm comes from being selective about your vulnerability, sharing it at the right time, with the right people, and in the right way. And yes, that's controversial. People often believe that vulnerability is about being completely open, but the truth is, being completely open is not always strategic. It can leave you exposed, and in the wrong circumstances, it can backfire. The most charming people know how to be vulnerable in a way that draws people in, without ever losing their sense of control. They control the degree of self-disclosure, and by doing so, they maintain their allure while building deeper and more meaningful connections. In the end, vulnerability isn't just about honesty. It's about calculated honesty. It's about showing others just enough of yourself to make them feel connected, while still controlling the narrative you're telling. When done correctly, this balance will make you unforgettable, because others will perceive you as authentic, but also as someone who knows their worth and isn't afraid to show it. 6. Ask deep questions, but don't answer them. Asking deep questions is one of the most underrated skills when it comes to building relationships. But here's the catch. It's not about you answering those questions. It's about making others feel like they are the center of attention, creating the space for them to open up and share their inner world, while you retain a little bit of mystery. And that's what real charm is all about. Let's unpack this. When you ask someone a deep question, something that goes beyond the typical how's work or what's new, you're inviting them to share something beyond the surface. You're essentially saying, I'm interested in who you really are, not just who you appear to be. But here's the tricky part. People tend to think deep questions need to be reciprocal. You ask, they answer, and then you answer. That's where most people get it wrong. Answering those same questions pulls the focus off of them and diminishes the impact of your curiosity. Years ago, I was at a dinner party with a group of colleagues, and the conversation was starting to get dull. Everyone was exchanging social niceties, and the atmosphere was becoming stale. So I decided to do something to shift things. I turned to one of my colleagues and asked, "What's something you've always wanted to do but are too afraid to try?" The mood changed instantly. Suddenly, this person started sharing a dream they'd been holding on to for years, something about traveling solo across Europe. The room went silent, and all eyes were on them. They were glowing with the excitement of sharing something so personal. When they finished, they turned to me and asked, "What about you?" I could have taken that moment to dive into my own story, sharing something equally vulnerable. But instead, I deflected in a charming way. I smiled and said, "Oh, we'll get to me later, but I want to hear more about why you haven't taken that trip yet." And just like that, the focus remained on them, and they kept sharing. I became the one who was interested enough to ask, but mysterious enough to keep my cards close to my chest. By the end of the night, people were telling me how much they enjoyed the conversation, even though I had hardly shared anything personal. The secret? I made it about them. Here's the controversial part. Charm isn't just about being open or baring your soul. Sometimes, the most attractive people are the ones who retain a bit of mystery, the ones who create space for others to shine without revealing too much about themselves. People love talking about themselves, especially when they feel like the person they're talking to is genuinely interested. Asking deep questions puts them in the spotlight, but not answering them keeps you in control of the conversation. You're the conductor of the symphony, directing the attention where you want it to go. I'm not saying you should be evasive or secretive all the time. It's about balance. You want to engage people in meaningful conversations, but you don't want to overshare or overshadow them. If you reveal too much about yourself, you lose that allure. Being a little mysterious keeps people curious, and curiosity is the foundation of attraction, whether it's in social or professional situations. Let me give you another example. I once had a colleague who was incredibly charming, but in a very subtle way. He was always asking thought-provoking questions like, "What's something you wish people understood more about you?" Or, "If you could relive one moment in your life, what would it be?" He had a way of getting people to talk, to share, to open up, but he almost never answered those questions himself. At first I found it odd, but over time, I realized that it was intentional. He wasn't being aloof. He was being strategic. People wanted to be around him because they felt understood, even though they knew very little about him. His charm came from his ability to keep the focus on others while maintaining an air of mystery. Here's the profound message. Asking deep questions signals that you're not interested in superficial interactions. It shows that you're invested in truly understanding someone. But not answering those same questions makes the dynamic one-sided in a way that benefits you. You remain the caring listener, the one who makes others feel special, without exposing too much of your own vulnerability. It creates a powerful pull. People want to know more about you, but you don't give them everything up front. It's the subtle balance between openness and restraint that makes you memorable. And here's the controversial point. Holding back on the answers isn't about being dishonest. It's about managing perception. When you ask deep questions but don't answer them yourself, you're controlling the pace and tone of the conversation. You're directing the emotional energy toward them, allowing them to feel important and valued. It's a calculated move, one that shows that you're not just casually conversing. You're creating an interaction that makes people think about you long after the conversation has ended. In the end, charm isn't an open book. It's a book that people want to keep reading, even if they can only glimpse a few pages at a time. So ask the deep questions, get people to share, get them to feel seen, but keep your own answers to yourself, because sometimes the most alluring thing you can do is leave a little mystery hanging in the air. That's how you make people feel special when they're around you, while still leaving them wanting more. Conclusion. Charm, the art of creating meaningful connections. In the end, charm isn't about pretending to be someone else or getting everyone to like you. It's about mastering the subtle art of making people feel special without losing yourself in the process. The key is balance. Show vulnerability, but maintain a touch of mystery. Ask deep questions, but don't always answer them. Charm is about making other people feel important while maintaining your self-respect and boundaries. The truth is, real charm isn't just about being liked. It's about leaving a lasting impression by knowing when to hold back and when to let others shine. Yes, some might say it's manipulative, but when done with good intentions, it's simply the art of creating meaningful connections. Charm isn't just a social trick, it's a reflection of how you see yourself and others. When you make people feel truly seen and heard, you're creating moments that resonate with them. But remember, you're still in control, and that's power. Charm is about making an impact, making other people feel something real, and that's what keeps them coming back. Part 2. Advanced Levels of Charm 7. Not afraid to disagree, but express it subtly. One of the biggest misconceptions about charm is that it means always agreeing with everyone. This is not only unrealistic, but can also backfire. A charming person is not someone who just nods their head, but someone who has their own opinions, but knows how to convey them gracefully. The fact is, constant agreement can make you bland and personality-less. People aren't looking for a shadow of themselves. They're looking for someone with their own perspective, someone who can challenge their thinking. The problem is, most people don't know how to disagree effectively. They become aggressive, argumentative, or even humiliate others. That's not charm, that's aggression. I used to be one of those people. When I was younger, I thought that expressing disagreement was a sign of strength and intelligence. I wasn't afraid to argue and criticize opinions I didn't agree with. But eventually, I realized that I was creating more enemies than admirers. People started to avoid me, and I wondered why. What I didn't understand at the time was that it wasn't about disagreement, but about the way I expressed it. Charm lies in the ability to disagree respectfully, even humorously. You don't need to be too serious when expressing your opinion. You can use wit or sarcasm to gently challenge a point of view without making others feel attacked. For example, I was once in a meeting where a colleague made an idea that I thought was impractical. Instead of saying directly, "Your idea is stupid," I said, "I understand your enthusiasm, but can we consider a few potential challenges before we proceed?" This statement both expressed disagreement and acknowledged my colleague's efforts and opened up a constructive discussion. The important thing is to always maintain respect. You don't need to put others down to lift yourself up. Here's the profound message. Disagreement is not a battle, but an opportunity to create an interesting dialogue. When you know how to disagree gracefully, you will attract people with your confidence and intellect. You don't have to agree with everything to be liked. In fact, the most interesting people are often those who can challenge us with new perspectives. One thing to note is, disagreement isn't a license to criticize everything. You must choose your battles wisely. Sometimes it's better to ignore a minor issue rather than create an unnecessary conflict. Charm is not just intelligence, but wisdom. So don't be afraid to disagree. Speak your mind, but do it respectfully and gracefully. In this way, you not only maintain your charm, but also create a safe space for openness and debate. 8. Use body language. Confidently, but not arrogantly. Body language is a powerful communication tool, often speaking louder than words. A charming person knows how to use body language to convey confidence, interest, and connection. The problem is, most people aren't aware of how they're using their body language, and sometimes it can backfire. Some people try too hard. They try to show confidence by tensing up or standing too close to others, which can make them appear arrogant and intimidating. Others are timid. They avoid eye contact or bow their heads, which can make them seem weak and unreliable. Charm lies in finding the balance between these two extremes. Body language is not a rigid list of rules that you must follow. It's a way to express who you really are, naturally and comfortably. The important thing is to be aware of your body and how it's interacting with others. For example, a genuine smile can melt even the coldest hearts. Eye contact shows that you are paying attention and interested. An open posture shows that you are confident and approachable. But remember, naturalness is key. If you try too hard, others will sense the artificiality. I have practiced using my body language, especially in social situations. I have spent time studying different types of body language and practicing in front of the mirror. But eventually, I realized that the most important thing was not to copy what others do, but to find my own style. I learned how to make eye contact naturally, not too intense and not too shy. I learned how to smile genuinely, not forced and not fake. and I learned how to stand up straight and broaden my shoulders, not too arrogantly and not too reservedly. Here's the profound message. Body language is not a tool to manipulate others, but a way to connect with them authentically and meaningfully. When you control your body language, you become confident, charming, and easily attract others. But the most important thing is that you must always be yourself. So, take the time to discover your body language and use it wisely and confidently. Remember, it is an important part of charm. 9. Know how to create humor, but not become a joke. Humor is one of the most powerful weapons in a charming person's arsenal. It can break tension, create comfort, and make people feel comfortable. The problem is most people don't know how to use humor effectively. They get too carried away, tell boring jokes, or even offend others. That's not charm, that's clumsiness. Humor isn't about how many jokes you can tell, but about how you can create fun moments in conversations. You can use wit, sarcasm, or even a bit of self-deprecation to make others laugh. The important thing is to be sensitive to context and audience. Not all types of humor are appropriate for everyone. I used to try to be a funny person, but I experienced many failures. I told jokes that no one laughed at, and I tried to make people laugh with silly jokes. Finally, I realized that humor isn't a skill you can force. It's a way for you to express your joy and comfort. I have learned that the best humor is natural, not forced. You don't need to try to tell the best jokes. You just need to know how to create fun moments in conversations. You can use wit to comment on a situation or use sarcasm to joke lightly. And sometimes a little self-deprecation can be a great remedy. Here's the profound message. Humor is not a way for you to prove you are smart, but a way for you to connect with others on a more intimate level. When you know how to use humor effectively, you will make people feel comfortable, relaxed, and want to be closer to you. But remember, you must always be sensitive and respectful of others. So, learn about your own humor and use it wisely and gracefully. Remember, it is an important part of charm. 10. Cultivate curiosity, but don't invade privacy. Curiosity is a powerful human motivator, and a charming person knows how to use it to create connection and interest. However, there is a fine line between curiosity and invasion. A charming person knows how to ask deep questions and pique the curiosity of others without becoming too intrusive or invasive. People like to talk about themselves, and a charming person knows how to create a safe and comfortable space for them to do so. They don't ask direct or too personal questions, but instead, they use open-ended and suggestive questions to spark the imaginations of others. For example, instead of asking, "What do you do for work?" they might ask, "What do you enjoy most about your job?" Instead of asking, "Are you married?" they might ask, "What kind of relationships do you prefer?" The difference is subtle, but it can make a big difference. I have made the mistake of becoming too curious about other people's private lives. I asked questions that were too personal or tried to find out too much about someone the first time I met them. This not only made others uncomfortable, but also made me a nosy and annoying person. I have learned that the best curiosity is genuine and respectful. You shouldn't try to find out everything about other people, but should only be interested in what they are willing to share. You should create a safe and comfortable space for them to open up without making them feel pressured or threatened. Here's the profound message. Curiosity is a powerful tool for building connection, but it must be used wisely and respectfully. When you cultivate your curiosity correctly, you will make others feel interested, engaged, and want to share more about themselves. So, learn about your curiosity and use it to create meaningful connections without invading other people's privacy. 11. Express genuine gratitude, but not flattery. Gratitude is one of the best qualities of a human being, and a charming person knows how to express it sincerely and naturally. However, there is a fine line between gratitude and flattery. A charming person knows how to appreciate the good things that others have done for them without becoming too fawning or artificial. People like to be acknowledged, and a charming person knows how to make others feel special. They don't just say thank you, but they also show their gratitude with specific words, actions, and gestures. They may send a handwritten thank you note, or give a thoughtful gift, or even just take the time to listen and talk to others. I have made the mistake of trying to flatter others to achieve my goals. I said empty compliments and made fake gestures, and of course, everyone could see the falsehood. Finally, I realized that true gratitude isn't a trick, but a way for you to express your appreciation and respect for others. I have learned that the best gratitude is genuine, coming from the heart. You don't need to be too flamboyant or artificial. You just need to express your appreciation and respect naturally and sincerely. You can say, "I really appreciate your help," or "I'm very grateful for what you have done for me." The important thing is that you say what you truly feel. Here's the profound message. Gratitude is not only a polite act, but a way for you to build deep and meaningful relationships. When you express your gratitude sincerely and naturally, you will make others feel appreciated and want to help you even more. So learn to express your gratitude sincerely and naturally without becoming flattering or artificial. Remember, it is an important part of charm. Part 3. Maintaining and Developing Charm 12. Consistency and authenticity. Charm isn't a mask that you can put on and take off at will. It's a way of life, a way you interact with the world and with others. To maintain your charm, you need to be consistent in how you act and always remain true to yourself. This means that you shouldn't change who you are to please others. You shouldn't try to become someone you are not. Instead, you should be yourself in the most confident and comfortable way possible. I used to try to change myself to be liked by everyone. I tried to be funnier, more open, or even smarter, and eventually I realized that I was losing my identity. I became fake and untrustworthy. I have learned that real charm comes from being yourself, without trying to become someone else. You can learn from others, you can improve your weaknesses, but you shouldn't lose your identity in the process. Here's the profound message. Charm isn't a competition, but a journey. You shouldn't try to please everyone. You should just be yourself in the best way possible. When you maintain your consistency and authenticity, you will not only maintain your charm, but also create deeper and more meaningful relationships. So, always be yourself and be consistent in how you act. Remember, it is an important part of charm. 13. Continuously learn and develop. Charm is not a static state. It's a continuous process of learning and development. A charming person is always looking for new ways to improve themselves, expand their knowledge, and refine their skills. They are never satisfied with what they have already achieved, but always strive to be better. This means you should read books, listen to podcasts, watch talks, or take courses to expand your knowledge. You should practice your social skills and learn from those around you. You should also take time to reflect on yourself and identify your weaknesses so you can improve them. I have always tried to learn and develop myself throughout my life. I have read many books on psychology, sociology, and communication. I have attended many courses on leadership and management skills. I have learned from both successful and unsuccessful people, and I have always tried to reflect on myself to identify my weaknesses and improve them. Here's the profound message. Charm isn't an innate talent. It's a skill you can learn and develop. When you continuously learn and develop, you'll not only become more charming, but also more well-rounded and successful. So, always look for new ways to improve yourself, and remember that it's an important part of charm. 14. Accept imperfection and forgive yourself. Charm doesn't mean you have to be perfect. In fact, perfection is an unattainable goal. And a charming person knows how to accept their own imperfections and forgive their mistakes. They don't blame themselves for their mistakes, but view them as opportunities to learn and grow. This means that you should accept that you will make mistakes. You shouldn't try to hide your flaws, but instead, you should learn to live with them. You should also forgive yourself when you make mistakes and learn from those experiences. I used to be a perfectionist, always striving to make everything perfect. I blamed myself a lot when I made mistakes, and this made me stressed and unhappy. Finally, I realized that perfection isn't the ultimate goal, but what's important is how you face your mistakes. I have learned that accepting imperfections and forgiving myself is a way for you to become more confident, comfortable, and charming. You don't have to be perfect to be liked by everyone. You just need to be yourself as honestly and naturally as possible. Here's the profound message. Charm isn't about being perfect, but about accepting your imperfections and forgiving your mistakes. When you learn to accept yourself and face your weaknesses positively, you will not only become more charming but also happier and more successful. So accept imperfection and forgive yourself when you make mistakes. Remember that it is an important part of charm. Conclusion. Charm, a journey of self-discovery and human connection. Charm isn't a trick or a skill you can learn overnight. It's a long journey, a journey of self-discovery and connecting with people. It requires patience, practice, and sincerity. You cannot become a charming person just by trying to follow the rules or tactics mentioned in this article. You must truly understand its meaning and apply it to your life as naturally and sincerely as possible. Remember that charm isn't a way to manipulate others, but a way for you to create meaningful and deep connections. It's how you show interest, respect, and appreciation for others. It's how you make other people feel special, not just when they're with you, but also after they've left. Dear friend, we have come a long way together, exploring the deep secrets of the art of charm. Now you understand that charm isn't a dry formula or a social trick. It is a subtle dance between confidence and humility, between openness and mystery, between being yourself and the ability to connect with others. Charm isn't a destination, but an endless journey of discovery, a never-ending adventure into the inner world of yourself and the world around you. It requires persistence, compassion, and a heart that is always eager to connect. Never think that you need to become someone else to be loved by others. It is your uniqueness, sincerity, and imperfections that make you who you are. Learn to love yourself, appreciate what you have, and share it with the world with the utmost confidence. Remember, real charm is not in external appearances, but in the emotions you can create in the hearts of others. It's the vibration when you listen, the excitement when you share, and the warmth when you care. Those are the moments that others will remember about you, even when they have left you. And now that you have the secret weapons of charm in your hands, I want you to start your journey today. Go out there and connect with people sincerely and confidently. Create memorable moments and leave a lasting impression on everyone you meet. You can start by sharing what you've learned in this video with your friends and loved ones. Let's spread the good things together and create a more connected and loving world. If you feel my sharing is helpful, don't hesitate to press the like button to support this video. And if you want to continue to discover interesting topics like this, press the subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos from my channel. I truly hope that after watching this video, you will feel more confident, stronger, and more charming. Remember that charm isn't a gift you either have or don't, but a skill you can learn and develop. Always believe in yourself and shine in your own way. And remember, you always have the power to master your world and create meaningful connections. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next videos.